The annual NFL owners meetings were held this week, and the key leaders for the Bears spoke to the media. And some of them actually had something interesting to say.
And the Bears make another splash in free agency. Add a veteran to an all-important position. That and more on this episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Huddle up! As always, I'm Rob Schwartz with Bear Goggles On. With me tonight is my co-host and good buddy, Bob Weiss. Welcome back to America, like the movie. I hope you enjoyed your vacation, but now it's time to dive back into the Chicago Bears offseason and the 2025 NFL Draft.
Huddle up. Yeah, thanks, Rob. It's good to be back. I had just a terrific week at the Dominican Republic with my family. Just one of those pure relaxation, relationship building. It's one of those weeks I hope literally everybody gets a chance to spend with their family sometime. But now I'm back, and it's all back to the Bears. You and Justin did an awesome job. While I was gone, I really enjoyed watching those videos next to the pool. But yeah, right back into it. Some big news coming out of the owners meeting this week, Rob.
Yeah, there's plenty to be heard from Ben Johnson, Poles Warren, and even McCaskey. So let's get into it. But before we do, just want to remind everyone that this Sunday, April 6th at 8:30 p.m., we'll be doing a live mock draft, and we want you to join us. So hit the subscribe button right now if you haven't already. That promotion is out there, so go find it. It's there. It's ready. You can hit the notification button so that it notifies you when we go live. That way you don't miss out. Hit that comment section on that episode, and you're going to help us make decisions, and we're going to be the Chicago Bears front office. So,
yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to getting to chat with a bunch of you all and see where everyone's headed, see what the best draft that we can make for the Bears.
All right.
So let's just get into our news and noise. I'm going to throw a statement out. It's stuff that we've heard in the media or social media, just about stuff coming out of these owner meetings. So first and foremost, Kevin Warren kind of changed his tune about what the Bears as an organization are focusing on. Prior, it was just focusing on getting that lakefront stadium, but now the focus is the lakefront and Arlington Heights. So, news or noise, Kevin Warren saying the Bears' focus now includes Arlington Heights confirms the Bears' location for their new stadium will be the Arlington Park site.
So I'm going to go news. And the only reason I'm going news is because, yeah, well, there's been a little bit of some change to the NFL and how they're allowed to do things over the last year it was ruled that NFL teams can now sell off part ownership to private equity. So it's like an investment for private equity. And I'm just wondering if, because they're struggling so much right now with the political movement involved with the state of Illinois. Look, I've been saying it from the beginning. It doesn't matter if you build in Arlington Heights, whether you build on the lakefront, the hospital location, whether you're building in Naperville. It doesn't matter if Illinois is not going to fund the infrastructure that they need in order to make things happen. The Bears are what most teams would consider cash poor. They don't have billionaire owners. The billionaire part of their ownership is the team itself. They own 80% of the team. And it's going to be interesting because I know there's some loopholes that they might have to go through with the minority leaders currently. I believe his name is Pat Ryan, who has claim in order to buy things first. Now he has a lot of money. Maybe his team will put some more money into it. Either way, the tax issue seems to be behind them now. They've gotten that pretty much straightened out. That was a big hurdle for Arlington Heights. That's always been the best option as far as from a financial investment strategy standpoint, especially for the Bears, who could end up becoming billionaires because of this investment. So look, I think it's definitely news now. I think the way that he's been talking about it, it's no longer that they're just the biggest landowner in Arlington Heights. It's now literally on the table.
Yeah, I'm going news as well. I think it is a big development. I do firmly believe that Kevin Warren would absolutely prefer the downtown stadium. I think that's what he wanted, and that's why it took him this long to even say the organization is actually focusing on Arlington Heights as a location. But I mean, a lot of what you just said, the private equity is one part of it to help fund the cost of the stadium. But I think the other part is you got to remember that the McCaskey's family don't have outside wealth. Their wealth, their fortune is the Bears franchise. So they don't have this outside money to come in and pay for these things. So as Arlington Heights site, I mean, they can finance it with their equity from what they own on the team. Great. But the rest of that development allows them to pay back the loan against their equity a lot faster. And I think it just has become clear that they're not going to get what they need from the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois to make that downtown stadium economically feasible for them. And it's just become plainly clear that Arlington Heights is the only option. And I think they already knew that, but they thought it was a leverage play with Arlington Heights, first of all, to say the focus is on the city. So I think that kind of helped as well. But also it's what Kevin Moore wanted. So let's talk about the city. Let's talk about the city. Let's talk about the city. But it wasn't just saying that the site is now a focus for the stadium, for the organization. It was also the first time you heard Kevin Warren talk glowingly about the land itself. He's always been, we're the largest landowner, and that's about as far as he goes. But he's talking about the creek that runs through it. You can still see downtown from the property, all these other things. So, as far as I'm concerned, it was about as much that you can confirm that that's where the Bears Stadium is going to be without actually saying it's confirmed.
Yeah, and I'll just touch on it one more time, just because I've hit this hard with Bear Goggles On. I've hit this hard even on this podcast. But the property tax issue was a big issue, and I think people kind of dismissed it too much. But it was over $100 million. Like they were making that value of that property inflated. The amount of money that they were going to be paying in property taxes was going to be ridiculous for a piece of property that has literally no financial income. There's no revenue coming in there until it's actually built. So getting that straightened away and having that property tax value, be in the 7 to 10 million range is way more important, in my opinion, or than people were letting on. Because in the city, they wouldn't pay anything because they wouldn't own it. But ownership right there, that again is the biggest thing, and the reason why they need to do this. They will own it. They will make the decisions. They get to outsource it. That's enough stadium talk for me.
Yeah. All right. Burned. Hell's Huddle. You got it. You got it first.
All right. News or noise? Ben Johnson was too honest in his updates and insights on multiple players, including Braxton Jones, Jaquan Brisker, Cole Kmet, Tyreek Stevenson. News or noise?
This one's a tough one for me, but I'm actually going to say news, which is not what I expected to we've criticized coaches here in the past about like withholding information on injuries, because it's like somehow going to be an unfair advantage to the opponent or something like that. And the things that he said about these players, Braxton Jones isn't good against the bull rush. Everybody knows that. Jaquan Brisker can have bad eyes. Everybody knows that. Cole Kmet can improve his run blocking. Everybody knows that. But it's an interesting strategy in terms of motivating your own players, that before you even really get them in the building and are allowed to work with them, you're kind of putting them on blast in the media. And I worry about exactly how that's going to go. I have a lot of faith in Ben Johnson as an offensive kind of play caller and designer, but you're going to hear me talk about it continually through this entire offseason process until we start seeing things actually happen and result in wins, first-time head coach stuff. And I just, putting players out there in the media talking openly about their weaknesses while also talking about their strengths. I'm not saying he didn't talk about their strengths, but that's just kind of uncharted territory, and we'll just kind of see how that actually goes. So I'm saying a little bit of news here, maybe a little bit more restraint from Ben Johnson would a little bit more tactful, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly he has experience being in front of the media as the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, but you're not in front of the media as much as you are when you are the head coach of a football team. And he needs to learn how to navigate these waters, especially here in Chicago. I will say that I think Chicagoans, whether it's the media, whether it's fans, they are going to appreciate him being open about situations like injuries. Because honestly, I think that's always been overinflated. Like you said, like, does it give a team an advantage? Well, I mean, if they're going out there and saying, oh, he's got a bad knee, but he's going to play, that might not be the smartest idea because then they're going to target his knee, right? But like if you're saying, oh, yeah, he's got a knee injury, he's going to be out for 3 weeks, we might have to put him on IR. Is that really a big deal? I don't think so. So like there's like little nuances here and there. He just has to learn how to navigate the waters. But you pointed out a perfect thing here is I'm going to say noise, though, because I do think the way that he went about it, it was almost like when you're going through your, like your review process at work, and maybe you didn't have the best year, right? You didn't have the best year, and your boss is telling you a little bit of like a compliment sandwich. You give a compliment, then you say what you got to work on, and then you bring it back to the compliment. So I think he did a very good job of perfect example. Braxton Jones, right? He talked about how his athleticism, right? He thinks he can be a great left tackle in the league. But then he said, look, we're going to put some pressure on him to bulk up because we want to get him some extra weight. We want to get him to be able to do a little bit better with that bull rush, right? So, again, ways to go about it. I think he did a decent job. Everyone knows Cole Kmet needs to work on his run blocking. I mean, Cole Kmet calls himself out for his run blocking, so I'm not really concerned about that. The Tyreek Stevenson one was a little bit interesting because people tried to get him to say, I think, a little bit more, and he didn't really come out with anything.
Right. And his compliment sandwich didn't have a lot of bread in it. It was almost only focused on, well, he hasn't really done much yet. He's got potential, but he's done nothing yet.
Yes, but he didn't want to talk about the Hail Mary play. He said, look, we're not going to talk football until we get into the building. So there's a lot of nuance there. And I think it's really important, for example, let's talk Braxton Jones. He said that the injury is going to probably keep him out or at least limited through training camp, right? Well, we've been talking about how Amagaji missed all of the offseason last year, and it showed on the football field. So does that mean now he's going to get the reps that he needs? I don't know. Maybe they're going to bring in competition because of the situation. We won't know until the draft.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, Karan Amagaji right now is going to get all the first team reps until we see what happens in the draft. But I mean, maybe those first team reps that he's going to get in that mini camp that's scheduled right before the draft can have an impact on how they target left tackle in the draft. And also the fact that you're saying your starting left tackle is already going to be limited in August. Maybe that's telegraphing to teams that we kind of have a need at left tackle. So it's one of those things. Are those the things that he should have been saying or not? We'll find out. Maybe those are the reasons why coaches don't talk about injuries in the media. So it's just one of those things we just got to monitor with him, see how it goes from here, see if he learns from it. All right. So Ben Johnson was not the only leader who talked. Ryan Poles also talked. He said interesting nuggets about the draft. He says there are very limited blue chip players in this draft, but there are solid starters ranging all the way from the single digits. So probably, 7, 8, 9 in the first round, all the way through maybe 50, 60, 70, towards the beginning of that third round. So Rob, him saying that confirms that the Bears' best strategy in the first round is either a trade up for a blue chip or a trade down to get more starters.
This is tough because you don't know how the draft is going to fall. But I think in hearing him speak, it's interesting because, look, he's saying exactly what we've been saying, the same thing for months, right? This draft is very, very weak. There's a few really good players at the top, and then it's just like some really good players throughout the rest of day one and then into day two. I joked in our text message that we're screwed because we're 2 picks away from getting that last good starter at 72. But maybe that means they're trading up from 72 into the late 60s. Who knows? But specifically because of the way this is worded with the first round, I'm going to say noise just because the word confirm. I think it highly indicates that they're going to either trade up or trade back. But if one of those guys, because look, every team has a different draft board, but if one of those guys, and we've seen it, we've mocked Tyler Warren to 10, right? He's one of the guys I have in there. We've mocked Genty to 10. He's one of those guys I have in there. So if one of those guys falls, you're not moving. But it's more and more likely that it's going to happen. And they're doing the same things we're doing, because they're talking about how, look, if we take a player here, how's that going to shake out at other positions throughout the draft? If we take that player, and he said, look, there's no guarantee, but we're continuously working that and trying to figure out, what does that combination look like? The same thing we just did in our last episode, where we had 3 different draft strategies.
100%. Yeah. So I'm going to say noise as well. You kind of centered your noise on the confirm word. I'm going to center my noise on the ideal word. I think the ideal situation for the Bears, seeing how it all lines up, is to actually stay at 10 and hope that one of those blue chip running back or tight end, Tyler Warren or Ashton Genty, fall to 10. I think that is the ideal scenario. And then if that doesn't happen, then then we're talking about trading down. As we kind of go through the rest of this lead up to the draft, we'll have some more videos talking about why we think that would be ideal or whatnot. I think ideally an elite playmaker falls to 10. And I think that's going to be the best strategy moving forward.
Yeah, and I'll just say it real quick too, because I'm higher on Mykel Williams than anybody. But I view him as not a blue player, but I'm just using him as an example. They're still going to have tiers. They're still going to have different grades. And, they talk about good starters all the way to 50, 60, 70. But don't mistake that as, well, whoever you're going to get at 10 is equal to the guy that's 50, because they're not going to look at it that way. And if they think one player, and again, I'm going to use Mykel Williams, they think Mykel Williams is worthy of that 10 pick versus who they could get at 15, they're not going to move back.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you got to make the pick, and then if that's the case, all these guys are kind of graded equally. Who's moving up? You're not moving up for a non-blue, right? You might be moving up for a quarterback, but if you look at the draft order from 10 to 20, all those teams have quarterbacks. So You're going to be just other teams who would be trading up would be competing to move up, or the Steelers just sit at 21 and just take the guy who falls.
I want to get your opinion on something. We didn't even touch base on this. Well, let's make it really quick. But it's interesting to me to hear Ryan Poles talk about how their prior regime didn't include their coordinators in all of their draft prep.
Yeah, that was a weird one, because when they said we, specifically, that was another thing that I thought maybe Ben Johnson shared too much information on, was kind of their evaluation of Tyler Warren in the building.
Polls too, though.
Yeah, but that kind of came out of, we sat in the film room with just our coordinators and talked about the top 20 or 30 prospects. Yeah. And when it first came out, I was like, well, yeah, that's logical. Every team should do that. And they just started doing it. So I don't know. But then you go back not that long ago, where the head coach, not even a coordinator, the head coach didn't even know that they're going to draft a quarterback. So, I guess maybe everything just kind of siloed and who knows what. But yeah, you're right. That was a very interesting nugget that came out.
If I could cue the music, what does a fox say? All right, news or noise, number 4. Ben Johnson once again mentions passing game EPA is the biggest indicator of wins. This means the Bears will focus on offense in the draft or an elite playmaker in the first round. News or noise?
So I'm going to, first of all, I'm just going to say noise, but also say that that might be my favorite part of Ben Johnson, is being an analytic mind. I'm an analytic guy. I'm a math guy. All these, I'm 100% on board.
You guys should see our fantasy football spreadsheet that Bob has put together for our commissioner league.
Very, very proud of that thing. Very proud of that thing. But so I absolutely love it. I mean, last year I had to explain to Justin Robb a little bit exactly where EPA comes from and why it's important and all these things. So I love it. But you got to understand exactly what Ben Johnson is saying here. He's not saying that a high EPA for your own quarterback means you're going to win the game. What he's saying is that the passing EPA for your team, if it's higher than the other team, you have a better chance to win the game.
80%.
Right. So, there's 2 ways to make that happen. You can have a very good passing game EPA for yourself, or you can hold the other team to a low passing EPA, right? So I still think that it means best player available in the draft. You're not going to avoid taking, a premium pass rusher just because you feel like I really need to fix the offense. You kind of already hopefully have fixed the offense with a better scheme, a year older for your quarterback, and a better offensive line. Hopefully that is going to take the Bears EPA from below average, which actually wasn't terrible last year. I was kind of surprised. It was more just clearly below average to more average or above, and they already had an average defense. So, they can still go anywhere in this draft as long as they're adding significant impact players. Now, I do think that kind of reading between the lines, I do strongly believe that they want an impact playmaker at 10. I just think that that's really what they're going on. When, Ben Johnson went out of his way to not call Jahmyr Gibbs a running back, but a playmaker. He went out of his way to call Tyler Warren a football player and not a tight end. All these things. So I think that at 10, they are looking for a premier playmaker. But generally speaking, holistically speaking, there's multiple ways to make sure your passing EPA is higher than your opponent's passing EPA.
Abdul Carter is a playmaker.
Yeah, that would do it. That would do it.
All right, so I am also going with noise. You kind of stole my thunder there a little bit at the end where you talk about, scheme. You talk about the fact that they've already addressed most of the offensive line. Those two things are going to be extremely important. Nate Tice tweeted out, well, first of all, I give props. If you don't know what EPA is, which is expected points added, if you go on Twitter or you go on YouTube, you go to CHGO, I'm going to promote them a little bit here. But Adam Hogue, again, this is, if you find it on YouTube or on Twitter, it's easier because it's a little short little snippet. And it might be easier to find Nate Tice because he retweeted it. But they put out a little blurb that explains it very easily, as if you were they said if you're 5 years old. So go check that out if you want to go figure out exactly what expected points added means. But Nate Tice put out a little tweet saying how it's now better to throw interceptions and have turnovers than it is to take sacks. And they showed out, explained the different scenarios and the numbers. And I'm surprised also that the Bears were where they were just with the fact that Caleb Williams had 68 sacks and he only turned the ball over. He had 9 games in a row without a turnover.
I hate to always pat ourselves on the back, but I mean, that was a constant refrain from you, me, and Justin last year. It's just so what if Caleb Williams doesn't turn the ball over? You're still losing. He's not taking the risks he needs, to move the ball.
Jared Goff, quarterback of the Detroit Lions, had 5 interceptions in one game, and they still won that game. So correct. The turnover ratio doesn't mean as much, it seems, as it does the EPA stats. So, I think we're all best player available here at House Huddle. We don't always agree on who that best player available is. That's where the debate comes in. But I agree with you 100% right there. BPA, doesn't matter if it's offense, doesn't matter if it's defense. It's going to matter who's there. Go get the guy you want.
100%. Affect the other quarterback is just as much as supporting and propping up your own quarterback.
Yep.
So speaking of quarterbacks, the Bears made a big-time signing today. Case Keenum, you are a Chicago Bear. News or noise, Super Bears, Super Bowl. No, I'm kidding. That's not actually
news.
All right, news or noise. The veteran leadership in the quarterback room will help propel Caleb Williams and Tyson Bagent's development.
100% news. 100% news. And here's the reason why. Look, last year we talked about it over and over and over again. How we were a little bit concerned that it was a rookie quarterback with a second-year quarterback. Yes, that second-year quarterback had, 5 starts? That's not enough, right? And you're with a lame duck organization or lame duck regime. Now you've seen multiple coordinators come through here. Caleb Williams is on his 3rd technically. So it's definitely going to just kind of, I wish they had it last year just to kind of help reel that nonsense back in, right? Reel him back in while you're going through all of this up and down roller coaster stuff. And look, Case Keenum's not anything to write home about, but he's definitely a veteran presence who has seen success in the NFL. And if for some reason Caleb Williams did go down, I would feel fine with either him or Bagent playing, but I think I'd feel a little bit better with Case Keenum than Bagent at this point.
So I struggle with this one. Like I'm going to say news just because that's kind of conventional wisdom. I totally disagree with you that I'd rather have Case Keenum in there than Tyson Bagent if it came to it. I think Tyson Bagent's proven to at least be adequate, and so is Case Keenum. But like, what are you getting out of Case Keenum? The guy's been in the NFL for what 14 years now, and what he's had some moments, he has not some moments, but there's a lot of experience that he's going to be able to draw on to kind of help these guys out, and that's real coming from a player who's trying to make the team as opposed to a coach who's has experience playing in the NFL, but he's just still a coach. So I mean, I get it. And to be honest, Case Keenum is probably about as an ideal of the veteran that you can bring in because let's just say it comes to a roster crunch or whatever, and Tyson Bagent's clearly better. You're not really going to get too hung up about having to cut Case Keenum. It's not like you're bringing in a Joe Flacco as a name that I saw kind of, thrown out there. Some other these veteran quarterbacks who actually are, like Joe Flacco, he's not playing in the NFL to hold a clipboard. He wants to play in the NFL, right? So it's just going to be a different dynamic.
Also not afraid to throw the interception.
Correct. So I mean, this Case Keenum thing it absolutely won't hurt, right? I don't think it can hurt. But I'm honestly, I'm in terms of the things that are going to help Caleb Williams this year. Case Keenum being in that room is got to be fifth or sixth at best. So whatever. It can't hurt. It's not bad, but I'm not, throwing a parade.
It will be interesting though to see if they hold 3 quarterbacks this year, right?
Yeah, I think at some point it's just not going to be,
because you can't keep Tyson Bagent on the practice squad. Someone's going to take him. And
I mean, honestly,
maybe you throw Case Keenum on there and you just hope no one does, and if they do, oh well.
I mean, with the way quarterbacking is in the NFL right now, and the contract that Tyson Bagent's on, you might get more in the trade market for Tyson Bagent than you did for Justin Fields if you wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So whatever. Case Keenum doesn't really move the needle, but it's interesting that comments were made specifically about backup quarterback on Hogan Johns with Ryan Poles yesterday, and then the next day, you got a new veteran quarterback in town.
Ryan Poles just giving out way too much information, and Ben Johnson. They just don't care. I don't know.
They're like, so real quick though, there was another leader who talked for the Bears. I didn't really want to throw him into a news and noise topic, but George McCaskey did talk, and he talked a lot about Virginia McCaskey. And it was nice and moving, and just kind of out of respect to that family, by all accounts, is just wonderful people. We can talk about their merits as owners, but wonderful people. The biggest news that did come out of that is that the McCaskey family is sticking around. Even, they're not in any hurt that they have to sell or anything like that. So McCaskies are your owners for your Chicago Bears for the foreseeable future.
That goes right back to what we talked about. It's like comedians where you like start at one thing and you transition back to that same thing. The Bears are cash poor without the Bears. Like the McCaskies are cash poor without the Bears. So it doesn't make sense for them to sell. I've been saying this forever. Not enough people wanted to listen. I'm glad he came out and said it. It was very emotional. He did break down. Look, as someone, I mean, I know he's much older and she lived to 102 years old, but as someone who's lost parents, it doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's difficult. So, I give the McCaskies a lot of crap on this show. I give the McCaskies a lot of crap at Bear Goggles On, but mad respect for them as a family ownership. And, we're stuck with them whether you want them to be or not.
Hey, and things are in the right direction right now.
That's right.
Will they still be going in this direction in October? We'll find out. But right now, the direction looks okay. So,
all right. Well, that's a good way to end it. Again, just a reminder, Sunday. So hit that subscribe button. Go find that video thumbnail. It's out there. Hit the notification key. If you're a subscriber already, it should be available. If you're not, again, hit the subscribe button. It should pop up. Hit the comment section. What did you like about this episode? What news or noise do you disagree with from us? Or what else came out of the ownership meeting?
What did we miss? What do you think was interesting? Let us know.
Exactly. So hit the comment button, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. That's it for us. As always, bear down, claws up.
See you all Sunday.